This hearing got tense after a Congresswoman repeatedly pressed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for one simple thing: actual details. As questions piled up about submarine production, defense spending, and military readiness, frustration grew when Hegseth offered broad promises but few concrete numbers or plans.
Mr. Lauro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to focus, Mr. Secretary, my question on submarines and our national security, our military shipbuilding, and as I said specifically, submarines, critical investment for national security and for the economy of my home state of Connecticut. This is a yes or no question, Mr. Secretary. Do you agree that continued investment in the Department of Defense in submarine production is in fact critical to the United States national security and military readiness?
Very critical.
Okay, so yes, thank you, and we agree. They'll continue to be a critical asset to deter adversaries, sustain the advantage we have in undersea domain, and the Defense Department should continue to support these programs. What is the status of the Department's investments in submarine programs?
14% increase in FY26 on the Columbia, and a substantial increase in the Virginia as well. So we're ensuring a submarine industrial base that has been left behind, that has been neglected, is fully invested.
We
to
have
make sure
funded
we're
the submarine
up on
base
funding
here.
the submarines.
More than half, and you can go back to last December, but I want to move on. Do you know where our submarine production currently stands, and whether current production is sufficient to bridge the gap between current fleet size and projected need?
There is a gap, but we believe we are closing it, ma'am. Yes.
And if you can get to us the information about how, in fact, that you can close that gap, because we do not have any information or data that can substantiate what you're saying. Your department's initial budget proposal includes incremental funding for the Columbia-class submarine. Is that going to raise alarm bells across the defense industrial base by signaling a lack of commitment to the program?
No, we could not, ma'am. We could not be more committed to Columbia. The centrality in the triad, ensuring it delivers on time, it's central to the deterrent and the base of the United States. So
do you know how much of a financial hole this will create for the defense industrial base? Will there be a financial hole for the defense industrial base in 2026?
Certainly not based on our projections. There is not a hole. We're investing in Columbia robustly.
Okay, without numbers, it's my understanding the department is planning to move $3.1 billion for the Columbia class from 2026 and spread it over 2027 and 2028. This creates a serious problem for industry in the short term and hampers shipbuilders' ability to reach an adequate production rate. Have you been in contact with Electric Boat or with Huntington Ingalls about your plans?
Almost every day, our Deputy Secretary of Defense, alongside our Secretary of the Navy, are actively engaged with all of our shipbuilders and shipyards to make sure their needs not only are being met, but their shortfalls are being addressed so that we can close that gap in real time, which has existed.
So that you can really lay out for us the information and what we would like to get, what this committee needs to take a look at. Because I know you believe that submarines are important, as I do, but getting the specific information about where we stand, what the production rate is, what gaps there may be. We're willing to listen to all of that because, in fact, in contrast to what your earlier statement was, we have, in fact, supported mightily the submarine industrial base from this committee. That has not been neglected. Do you have a plan for making the investments necessary to ramp up submarine production to the necessary elections? I would just tell you, as part of the December continuing resolution, Congress included $5.7 billion for the department to put on contract for 2 additional Block 4 and 1 Block 5 Virginia-class submarines. The Navy advised members that these funds were required to be placed on contract by February of 2025, yet the department did not put funding for the 2 additional Block 4 boats on contract until April 30th. So do we have a plan, do you have a plan for making the necessary investments to ramp up submarine production to the necessary levels. And what is that plan?
Ma'am, first of all, I want to thank this committee for the flexibility alongside FY25 and the continued resolution.
Well, I would hope you would thank this committee for the funding that it
provided
had
on
made.
the submarine industrial
We have made a
base, and we
serious
appreciate that.
investment. So your first statement is inaccurate. We have focused squarely on submarines, and we now want to know where that is going and what your plan is for the continued advancements to meet production levels and make sure that that is an area that's covered for our national security.
Ma'am, I fully acknowledge the investment this committee has made in shipbuilding, and the challenge is our department under the previous administration squandered a lot of that by
Please,
not
I don't.
properly.
I want your plan. I've had difficulties with the prior administration, and I don't mind calling them out. What is your plan for the future? Can we get that in writing and on paper so that we know where you're going? Because we don't have anything today. We have zip, nada, and knowing where you're going. You could talk percentages, you can talk about whatever you want, but unless this committee sees dollars and cents and where you're going and what your plan is, then we may reconsider what you need to do to go forward. Give us the details.
Congresswoman, we have the details and we will provide
Well, then
them
let's
for you.
have them before we, and my hope is that we could get to it before we go to a markup within a few hours here today. I yield back my time, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady yields back her time.
Pete Hegseth faced another difficult hearing, but this time, the controversy wasn't about political loyalty, classified information, or heated personal exchanges. It was about something far more basic and arguably just as important: whether the Pentagon can clearly explain how it plans to maintain America's military readiness. The focus here was submarines, one of the most critical parts of U.S. national defense. And from the beginning, the Congresswoman made clear this was not a partisan ambush. She started with agreement, not confrontation. Both sides acknowledged the same basic reality: submarines are essential to America's national security, military deterrence, and long-term strategic advantage. So this hearing wasn't really about whether submarines matter. The real question was much more practical. What is the Pentagon's actual plan? And that's where frustration began building. When asked about submarine production and investments, Hegseth pointed to increases in funding and broader commitments to shipbuilding. But the Congresswoman wasn't asking for general support or percentage increases. She wanted specifics: production rates, timelines, funding gaps, and concrete plans showing how the Pentagon intends to close the growing gap between submarine demand and current production capacity. That distinction matters. Congress doesn't simply approve defense spending based on broad assurances. Lawmakers are responsible for overseeing how taxpayer money is spent and whether military planning is actually matching national security needs. And throughout the hearing, the Congresswoman repeatedly made the same point. Show us the numbers. At several moments, Hegseth shifted toward criticism of previous administrations and broader talking points about neglected shipbuilding infrastructure. But the Congresswoman cut through that quickly. She wasn't interested in assigning blame for the past. She wanted details about the future. And that's where the hearing became revealing. The frustration you hear wasn't really about submarines alone. It reflected a larger tension between Congress and the Pentagon over transparency and accountability. Members approve billions of dollars for defense programs, but they also expect detailed planning to justify those investments. By the end of the exchange, the Congresswoman delivered perhaps the most damaging line of the hearing. We have zip. That statement captured her argument perfectly. From her perspective, Congress had already shown flexibility and strong financial support for submarine programs, yet lawmakers still lacked clear information about exactly how the Pentagon planned to achieve its production goals. To be fair, Hegseth insisted the department has those details and promised to provide them. So supporters will argue this was more about timing and paperwork than failure or incompetence. But critics will see something different. A Defense Department leadership team asking Congress for trust while struggling to provide the detailed roadmap lawmakers believe they need. And that's the deeper issue behind this hearing. This wasn't about political theater. It was about whether promises alone are enough when national security and billions of taxpayer dollars are involved. Because when Congress funds defense programs, lawmakers are not just buying equipment. They're buying confidence that the strategy behind those investments is solid, transparent, and ready to deliver results. And this hearing made clear that some lawmakers are still waiting to see that proof. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was this fair oversight, or was Congress demanding details that take time to finalize? And for more political analysis and hearing breakdowns, subscribe to the State Lens.